Well, good morning, West Ham fans. Rush the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. I'm back. I'm back from my few days away in the Cotswolds with Mrs. Budden, and very nice it was too. Did a little show yesterday, little live show talking about, West Ham's transfer business, getting the jump start it needs with news that the board are going to be putting money in. And to be honest, I thought it was always going to be the case. To be perfectly honest, I don't. I mean, people saying, "Do you see it as a backtrack? Do you see it as a reverting?" But I see it as a bit of both. To be honest, I see. I genuinely believe. I think we underestimated how desirable our players were, and we were like, "Shit, no one's putting in anybody." We're going to sell. We've got to sell players before we buy players. Okay. Well, then people start putting in silly money and silly offers, and they go, "Actually, it's not going to work out." So, for me, I think there was always going to be a case that we were going to be putting money in. And I think just the way it gets narrated, the way that information gets leaked just doesn't work. But we've never seemed to have found a way for it to do properly. To be honest, the best thing is just to say nothing at all. Ronan Keating said it perfectly. You say it best when you say nothing at all. That's how we should be. Hear no evil, see no evil. Just listen to the words of Ronan Keating. That's never did I think I was going to be talking about Ronan Keating in reference to a West Ham transfer video. But anyway, we're going to do the Russyb rating, the original rating later on, talking about a new half dozen players. I think we're about 135 players have been linked to so far. Just so when we say all these rumours, they don't usually sign. But I wanted to talk about the sort of the money, because I think, and the reason why I think that it was always a case that there was going to be money given to Potter was, and I think Gonza did it on, I think it was Claret and Hugh, he did an article, and it went along with what I was, sort of the way I was thinking about it. He had many job offers before, and if we're led to be believed, there was some quite intense negotiations by Potter in terms of what he wanted, and he wanted to make sure his next move after the Chelsea debacle was the right move in terms of his vision and having a setup to see that vision through. And as part of that negotiation, it's the same as me. If I was going to a new job, I want to find out what my marketing budget was, and that's a conversation you have there. And if it's not what you want, then you either have to rework it or negotiate for more budget. And by the sounds of it, he negotiated David Sullivan to bring Carl McCauley for £1.2 million, which is something we know that he's never likes to do. He never likes to buy staff out of contracts. That was always the prerequisite. Usually, in terms of the manager comes in, they have to be out of work. So there's no compensation being paid to another club. Now, he would have, as part of that negotiation, obviously Carl McCauley was one of the things, but also to get an idea of the budget he had. So him and Carl could sit there and work together on what he needs. He had 6 months looking at the club, looking at the squad, what bits he needs. Obviously got players coming back. And now, if we're led to be believed, we've got about 90 million quid. Now, to be honest, when we did the maths before, in terms of selling before buying, in terms of the sellable assets, the ones we would normally sell, so Kudus, Aged, assuming Paqueta, Guerrero Rodriguez, Emerson, those 5 players. Obviously, Paqueta, big question mark about that, but say the other 4. And we were led to believe that we could get 70% or 75% of that to pay, somehow to pay the debt back. And it worked out about 80, 90 million quid anyway. So all we do is we're getting it now. And then I can't see us adding to that with the player sales, because that will go back into the coffers. So the money's roughly the same what we're going to have, but it does seem we're going to get it now to buy players rather than once we've sold players, because there will be a time and it also, for me, it makes perfect business sense, because it makes perfect business sense. I said nothing at all, to be honest. But for me, now we don't have to feel like we're having our pants taken down and spanked when Roma come in and offer £3 and a margarita for Naya Figuered, for example. That doesn't have to happen now. We're in a better position from a negotiation standpoint. We weren't when we said we had to buy to sell. No, it's to sell to buy. That's the other way. And so at least but we should never have been in this place in the first place. We shouldn't have been in this situation. We shouldn't have been having to backtrack. I still don't think there was a full backtrack. And again, I'm not gaslighting anything. I'm just giving you my views. I think it was somewhere in between. I think the club had money available, and I still think they had, because they're not massive, not like huge, but like 15 million quid or something like that, which is obviously massive for us, but not for a football club. Based on what we could put in the pot, what was going to be sort of posted as a loss, that type of thing, yada yada yada. And there was always going to be I think the narrative's changed, but I think the money's sort of the same, if that makes sense. I still think you're not going to get a situation where we sell Kudus and that £65 million, £70 million is going to be added to the 90. I don't think that's the case at all. I think we're just getting the money earlier. We're payday loading it to ourselves, basically. That's the way I envisage it happening, and that money will be clawed back. And obviously, it's not necessarily because it will be on a rights issue. They can't necessarily. It's not a loan as such as investment, but if we do sell Kudus, some may go to the pot, but I think a lot of that is going to go into the coffers to then pay off the debt that sort of, because we've got to balance the books. That's the way I see it. Now, I might be completely wrong. I'm not a financial person, but when we did the maths before, it was about 80, 90 million. And now they're going to put in 80, 90 million. And I know PSR, we can put in 90 million, but that's before. I don't mean. But as I said, and I think Sean did a thing we mentioned it the other day in terms of the debt they had to pay off. It's the same with putting any cash injection into the club. It has to be done. If it's done based on the percentage shares, so whether 37% or whatever Sullivan owns, or 35, and then Kuczynski's 27 and 25, and for the Gold family, if they put in that money like that, there's no dilution of the shares. But if Kuczynski puts in 40%, then they then have to dilute the shares from the other shareholders. Very confusing. Anyway, just wait to give my 2 cents worth, to be honest, more than anything, because I think it sounds good, but I think the money was sort of going to be there now, but we're just sort of payday loaning it to ourselves. And yeah, I'm sure someone who's clever in the finance will put below I'm totally wrong, but I just think that it's just they're just rebadging it, but look, if it means we can start getting players in, fuck it, we need to start getting some players in. We'll have pre-season starting next couple of weeks. We've got just under a month until we play Man United in the summer series. I would love us to have our squad ready for that, because we need that bedding in period, and that's what pre-season's for. Holly did a great show, I think it was Wednesday, about pre-season. Go back and check that out. But anyway, we're back later on. Hammers Headlines. Don't forget to check it out. And stay safe. Keep cool. It's going to get hot in the UK again. I've got the pool out already. Much love. See you soon. See you lunchtime to talk about some rumours. Much love. See you there, motherfuckers.